Leslie provided the snacks for the day, great chocolate chip cookies and grapes, and we also talked about planning for the barbecue, and Diane suggested that, or she volunteered bringing a half a cow. We all discussed how valuable having half a cow would be, and before we make the final decision, she's going to find out how soon the next cow is going to arrive, so we could decide how much beef we'd like. The word of the day was time, not the spice. It was chosen by Leonard. He made it very clear it's not the spice. He didn't give us an option like Kathy usually does. But after writing, the different people shared their stories or their interpretations of time. Diane shared that for her, it made her think of song lyrics and personal perceptions of time and managing time. She realizes that now if she can get things done earlier, there's less stress on her. She feels she has more free time. And she also has realized the possible benefits of not putting things off, because at her funeral, maybe people will judge her less, thinking about the mess that she did not leave behind. Chris started his writing with the Rolling Stone lyrics, and he said that it made him think about a film that he sometimes shares the lines with his wife, and it freaks her out. But he decided that time passes way too quickly, and that time is actually not on his side, it's actually against him. Amber wrote about how fast time passes, thinking about it in driving the car or on the street, or talking with her grandparents and them knowing that their time is limited. She explains also in her writing how she relates time to teaching science in the universe, and lets students know how constant it is. She also included how a lot of students get uncomfortable with that concept, and they'd rather think about their coffees and television. Kathy shared her writing about her busy morning and about running late, and she expressed how there's never enough time to do what she needs to do, and that's been an ongoing situation throughout time. Callie talked about her family tradition of being a little behind in time. She talked about how her dad sees time and how he saw time when she was growing up, and how this has been passed on to her, and especially how a lot of people get almost imprisoned or chained by looking at the clock on the wall, and how she has a liberated sense of time. Leonard shared about a story of a woman that took soap back in the 90s for her sons so they could actually be clean and bathe, but over time this has left her with a negative reputation where people still consider her to be a thief. Carrie talked about there's not enough time to get all the things done that she likes. She expressed how she really wants to develop more as a professional and where she would rather be, and especially in her technology skills. She also talked about her time with her son is very limited during the summer, and especially since he's working, and that she's also busy herself. And she also talked about her precious daughter and all the time that is required for the different activities that she helps her daughter do or to be at. Then we went to Chris's awesome demonstration, talking about eye research and getting students more involved in writing and actually getting research that's factual and from reliable sources. He started us with looking at images and writing from a perspective that we may have known, but again, just responding to the images. I had a landing craft, and I talked in a group of Gina and Callie had the Lindy Hop photo. Then Chris showed us propaganda, looking at this comic book cover, the red iceberg. As a group, we discussed the different meanings of the metaphor, the symbolism, and how it may have been related to history of the time. Little did I know that it is actually supposed to be a real red iceberg of an artist that painted a few years ago. You actually may look into this yourself, and believe it or not, it did get some news coverage, but it's not really that serious. Then Chris had us consider more propaganda and the symbolism behind it, and to be able to tell stories about the realities behind the propaganda, and for an example of how students can do research to get more facts behind it. Pictures of us in action. Then it was time for lunch. Everybody dispersed, did their thing for an hour, and returned. After lunch, it was time for writing groups. Kathy decided that her group had not been in the room for a while, so they claimed the room for themselves and sent everyone else packing. My group went to a hideaway to where the chairs were a little softer, to where we could sit and relax. Leslie read about her great story, The Telltale Rat, and based on a real story of a rat that died in the roof of her classroom and how it was left there to decay. So we sat and discussed and gave suggestions for editing and modifications. Diane also read her piece, I read my piece, and I don't think Callie read her piece. We returned a little after 3 to the main room. Kathy took note of that, and for that reason, she punished me by forcing me to read. Though I was embarrassed, I did comply. And that was the day.